Welcome back to another episode of Mark's Fishing. Today I'm going to do a video covering off some of the most frequently asked questions I get about chasing flathead in Port Phillip Bay. But before we go out there, there's two key things I want to tell you about chasing flathead, which is different than chasing snapper. Of course, if you're out there doing your traditional snapper fishing with burley and bait and anchoring up, you're going to catch flathead. They're out there, they're an opportunistic scavenger. Yes, you're going to catch some. But if you want to go out in Port Phillip Bay and be able to catch your family a feed of flathead consistently, there are some things that you do differently than traditional snapper fishing. And the first one is you drift and don't anchor. This allows you to cover ground, it allows you to find the fish, unlike snapper, which show up quite easily on a sounder. Flathead, they bury in the sand. You will rarely see an arch on your sounder that is presented as a flathead. The second thing that you need to do is use lures instead of bait. Port Phillip Bay is traditionally a bait fishing location and it is a bait fishing culture here, but the fact is flathead will go for lures over bait every time. I have gone out and I have fished with one soft plastic on the end of a line and meanwhile dragged around 3 different lines with different types of bait in them, burling like crazy. And when it comes to flathead fishing, the single soft plastic that I was working was out fishing the bait every single time. So if you're really going out and you want to target flathead, you need to be using lures, and I suggest you use soft plastics. All right, let's get out on the water, let's catch some fish, and hopefully we'll have a good day. Now all I'm doing is casting this out as far as I can. I'm casting with the wind. I'm casting in the direction that the boat is drifting. And I'm just reeling up the slack. And I just need to slowly reel just to keep the line from getting completely slack, but leaving a slight belly in the line, and I watch for the line to hit the bottom. When it hits the bottom, there will become a significant belly in the line. I just do a couple twitches and then I reel up the slack. Now, keeping in mind, since we are drifting, to keep in touch with your lure, you're going to have to constantly, slowly turn your reel over, just to keep in touch with the lure. There's another one. Oh, missed him. Oh, they often come back for it. Let's see. I find when you do get a hit, sometimes the instinct is to work the lure more aggressively because you get excited, but I find it's almost always better to leave a long pause in that situation rather than become more aggressive with the retrieve. We're almost to the boat now. I'm gonna let this sit for a few seconds and just see if he picks it up off the bottom. No. Oh wow, that was a huge hit. Oh. Bloody hell. Another thing I should note is we are fishing in the middle of the day. The sun is almost directly overhead. Unlike snapper fishing, flathead for the most part will bite throughout the day. They probably are a little better at sunrise and sunset, but you can come out middle of the day, fish gentlemen's hours, and if you know what you're doing and you find the fish, you're probably gonna catch something like that. There's another one. And there's no need to rush it. Just keep pressure on the fish. Let him tire himself out. This looks like it could be a pretty decent fish. Yeah, that's a nice fish. I'm just gonna boat flip him and there we go. Another good fish. Say it's nearly a carbon copy of the last one. All right, there we go. 36 centimeters, a little bit bigger than the last one. All right, that's my dinner sorted. Anything else we get today is just going back. Now we got a decent amount of wind and chop today, and I was fishing for probably about 45 minutes and didn't get a hit. And I just had a feeling that I was probably moving over the ground too fast. I probably wasn't giving the lure enough time to get to the bottom. And when I did, I probably wasn't giving it enough time on the bottom. So I slowed my retrieve, but I also put the drift sock in, or drogue, as they're often called. And when you're drifting for flathead, if you got any amount of decent wind, you definitely want to be using a drift sock. They're a pretty cheap accessory. Just tie them to a bit of rope and throw them out the back, and it can make all the difference in the world. And as soon as I put that out, I was able to slow everything down, and then I immediately got 2 fish. If you're drifting and not getting a hit, every 15 minutes, move the boat. Find a different path, find a different depth, and don't fall out of your boat either. Once again, just casting with the wind in the direction that the boat is drifting. Let the line sink, but you'll need to slowly turn the reel over so you can keep an eye on your line. Watch for it to hit the bottom. Once you get the belly, a couple twitches, reel up the slack, and then once again, just slowly turn the reel over to keep an eye on that line till it hits the bottom. On the bottom now. And that's pretty well it. Now the reel I'm using today is just a little 2500 size reel. This one's a Shimano Stratic, but it doesn't much matter. The fish doesn't know the difference or how expensive the reel is. I also use Shimano Siennas and all kinds of budget level reels. This happens to be my favorite reel. But once again, the fish have no idea. And then I just use a 6'6" rod. This one's 3 to 5 kilos, which I think is about right for Port Phillip Bay. In Port Phillip Bay, this combination, 2500 size reel, 15-pound braid, 10 to 15-pound leader, 6-foot rod, 3 to 5 kilo weight, that'll catch just about anything that you can come across in Port Phillip Bay. And if you play it out, you could probably even pull in a nice sized gummy shark. But this will take everything from small sized sharks to your big snapper, to whiting, to flathead. And really all you need to do with a setup like this is just change your leader for the size or type of fish you're going for. All right, we haven't had a bump in a couple of casts. So what I'm gonna do is pull in the drift sock, and we will head back to where we started this drift and just do the same drift again. Well, the wind's picking up and so is the chop, so I think we're gonna call it a day. On the water, about an hour and a half, 4 fish. Not a bad way to spend a day.